Lucky Boys Podcast.
So if you're looking at an investment property, obviously the general rule of thumb, and this isn't just from what I'm thinking, but I'm just pulling this from my current clients. I deal with plenty of investors all the time: Chinese, Hispanic, white, Jewish, African American as well. They all have a general consensus of when there's blood on the streets, it's the perfect time to buy. When everybody is
fearful,
saying, "Oh, don't buy. It's the worst time. We're losing. Property values are not coming up ever again. They're going to lose." Well, you know what? At that time, that's really when the investors go in.
I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, if I can't tell you how much regret I have not going all in.
2018, 2008, 2009.
Oh yeah,
2009
for sure.
Oh
for
my!
sure.
But that's because hindsight is
It's
2020, right?
Exactly.
And knowing I could have retired, geez, like I would be sitting. Well, I wouldn't retire, but I could be work optional if I looked into my crystal ball and did what I did in 2008. And just as a perfect example to what you're saying, I was looking at a condo out in Williamsburg. It was a 2-bedroom,
new construction,
unobstructed view of the water, of a high-rise luxury building.
Sure.
They were asking originally for $800, talked it down to just under $600,000.
This is 2008.
2008. We had a hard hat.
You can get a lot of concessions from the developers at that time. They were scared.
3% down, FHA, all that. So there was a lot of concessions as well. I could get them to pay for, subsidize for closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So it looked real. Everything was good, and I had the money. Obviously, I had 3%. So, and I had a job, and it was there. It was there, and I did not
pull the trigger.
I did not pull the trigger because I was scared. I was like, man, cause with the news, everything was doom and gloom. You would think that the U.S. economy was gonna die,
right?
And I completely, and I was very young, so I completely bought into that. That same condo today, back in 2008, 12 years later, is worth $1.5 million. I would have had at least $1 million in equity by now. Granted, the $900,000, and I would have probably paid off at least $100,000 within the last 12 years. I mean, I paid more than that in my rent at that time. So
shoulda, coulda, woulda, right?
Exactly.
But during that time, it was the mortgage and the financial crisis. It was affecting real estate. Sure. But now it's different,
right?
Obviously, there's a trickle down effect, and it will affect real estate eventually, right? The real estate market. Mm-hmm. But back then, it was like the building wasn't even built yet. It was affecting real estate.
It's a risk.
It was very risky.
It's a risk.
And I would understand that because...
You're looking to double your money in 12 years. That's crazy.
I would have been...
More than double.
Yeah. I would have been afraid too because it hasn't been built. So they're waiting. So these the contractors...
It hasn't been built.
Exactly. So the contractors are waiting for funding from I don't know, the banks, the government, whatever.
Sure.
And it seems like they're not getting it. So how do you know that this building, even if you getting contracted to buy it, how do you know that this building will even get built?
So here's one thing that I want to add, and I get this all the time. And my clients are usually the guys that are, the sweet spot is their first home to their first investment property to their first 10 properties, right? And they're always asking like, oh, when's the best time to invest? What am I going to do? I've got this great deal. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not sure. Well, the way that I see it, and look, this is with me being over 17 years in the business, being on the board of directors of multiple organizations, and seeing the market for itself in true form, right? One thing I could always say, and it happened to me all the time, is when you have a great deal and you feel like you can't lose it, but you're not sure about jumping in, one thing I can say is no matter what, there's always deals around the corner. There's always deals around the corner. And if you think
there's other boats leaving the dock.
Brother, look, so you're telling me that there isn't a savvy investor for when property values are high and there's not a savvy investor when property values are low. Mm-hmm. There's guys that play all different spectrums of the game.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's whether or not you have enough knowledge to be able to think from that perspective. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I say, look, I think it was a blessing in disguise that you didn't purchase it, because now you understand and know the feeling of, oh, great deal, act now.
Right.
So that the next time you're prepared even more financially. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you failed the first time, if you consider that as a failure. And like Michael Jordan, get back on the court, keep shooting. You're going to miss 9,000 shots, but you know what? At the end of the day, you can be an all-star as long as you don't give up.
That's a healthy way of
Super
looking at it, but you can't help but get that FOMO feeling, the fear of missing out moving forward.
That's correct.
And I have to be careful
Yep.
of that. I, as an investor of anything, I mean, we have to invest to build, more equity and capital for whatever our financial goals are. But because I've missed that boat, now I gotta look at it on the other side. I have learned from that, but I still am cautious. I'm cautiously
Of
invest
course.
because I can't look at everything like it's the same thing. Like I'm going to miss this boat. I'm going to have this fear of missing out on another great investment. Because I think there are more investments that are traps than there are ones that can give you a 200% return.
You're absolutely correct. Only if that's your only peripheral vision of what you're seeing. Now, when it comes to deals and real estate deals, from my experience, if you get involved and you dive in deep and you really do your research and you travel all over the U.S. and really try to get to know the right people, that perspective broadens.
All right, but that's easier said than done. I mean, that's if you're at real estate.
Well, you're in it to win it,
Full-time.
right? So it's either you're in or you're out, and that's the game of real
Because
estate.
I find a lot of people, most people that invest in real estate,
Sure.
as I see them do it as a side hustle.
Sure.
And then when they are successful and they go and they figured it out, they found the magic sauce.
Sure.
Then they go full time at it. So most people that I know
Yep.
focus purely on real estate as a side hustle. They dabble in it, or they just have one or two additional properties
Sure.
that they collect rent on,
Right.
and they go, okay, I'm happy with this, and they don't expand further into that.
Well, that's on them, right? So it really comes down to what it is that you want and how much time you're willing to put into it. If you're looking for a deal where you put in money 12 years ago and now you're looking to double or triple your money, guess what? You probably have to do a lot more research than you think.
So you're saying there's a lot of other deals just like
So
that
many,
one.
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
How do you find it? What are some of these signs that you are able to kind of pick up on? I mean, because you've been doing this your whole career,
Yeah.
and you've made a fantastic living out of it, and and I've seen you were very successful, and you had
Well, it depends on what your category.
all things considered,
Depends on what
you're
success
able.
is.
Okay, let's put it into scope. Luxury cars, homes. You're able to provide a lifestyle. You're able to travel. You're able to, I guess, pop bottles at the club, right? So, and all this without really worrying about your bill. When you see it, you're just like, oh, well, that was fun, and that was it. So that's what I'm talking about. You're not really worrying about money because you know the next payday is gonna come, and you have enough secured.
Sure.
So you know what? I'm gonna go out and buy that car because
Sure.
I just like things I like material stuff. So I'm gonna just buy this cool thing. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna spend a stupid amount of money on alcohol, which doesn't even make sense because I want to have fun with my friends. And that's it. I like.
Well, let me ask you a question.
So that's what I mean. As successful as in your 20s and 30s, right? For
Sure.
the most part.
Sure.
Just putting it into context that you have a lot of disposable income.
Sure.
And you don't have to be concerned about spending it
Sure.
on items where most people are just trying to survive.
So at the end of the day, for me, it's always good to pay attention on what you're spending because you don't want to overspend and put yourself in a position where you can't afford things, right? So I think
you're speaking from experience because I know you went through that.
I've had ups and downs.
Yeah.
I've had it all.
I remember at one point you had like 5 cars.
Well, I've had ups and downs. I've had it all at one point, and I've lost it all at one point.
Right.
And I've taken the past 10
You've
years
been
to
humbled.
really try to get back on my feet. And this time around, it's a very humbling experience. But at the end of the day, I think from what I understand with personal experience and from my investors, it's not about the dollar amount that you spend. It's about the value that you get, right? So don't be afraid to spend. But if you're getting major value out of it, why not, right? So let me use an example.
I love that, by the way.
Well, everybody's looking for a value play, especially in real estate.
Because a lot of people they look at the cost,
Right.
and they're not looking at the value.
So let me add to that.
So they create this barrier of entry that
Sure.
that doesn't exist mentally,
Correct. So let me ask you
assuming
this.
they have the finances.
Right. So let me ask you this. When you are networking, and it's your job to be networking in this real estate industry to build rapport and relationships with key people, how do you know that the person that's popping the bottles or entertaining is not building a relationship with that person, which may in return build into future business that pretty much covers that cost of that event? Right. So again, value play. If you're just a regular average guy, you're doing a bachelor party with your friends, and your pure goal is to go out there, just have fun with that bachelor party, pop a couple bottles, enjoy life for the night, and then go back to normal life, then yeah, you'd have to think twice before you spend it, right? But if you're networking or possibly building future business out of it, then it's a justified cost.
Right. Then that
Then
can
you
go
may
on,
be able
that
to
can
get
go on
your
the black
value play.
Amex business card.
Something like that, right?
It's an expense.
Right.